It all began with a simple photo. Back in 2014, Kelly Rowland shared a sweet picture of herself holding her newborn son, Titan. But the internet has a way of turning simple into anything but. Fans zoomed in, compared features, and whispered theories. Before long, Titan's face wasn't just a baby's face anymore. It was evidence in a social media investigation. The jawline? Jay-Z. The eyes? Definitely Jay-Z. The expression? Uncomfortably familiar. People even lined up side-by-side photos, piecing together theories like detectives on a case. But this wasn't just about a child's photo. It was about trust, betrayal, and one of music's most iconic friendships being thrown into chaos. Because if there was even a grain of truth in what people were suggesting, the fallout wouldn't be just tabloid chatter, it could change how fans saw Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Kelly Rowland forever. The weight of the story wasn't really about Titan himself. It was about his mother. Kelly wasn't just another industry peer, she was Beyoncé's sister in every way that mattered. They grew up together, lived together, built their dreams side by side. If this rumor had been attached to anyone else, it might still have stirred headlines. But with Kelly, it cut deep. Too deep. And then there was the timing. Titan's birth came just months after the infamous elevator incident, fueling speculation that refused to die down. That infamous incident, the one where Solange exploded on Jay-Z like he had single-handedly shattered the entire Knowles family trust, never truly faded from memory. For years, fans speculated, cheating, lies, maybe something even darker. Then came Titan's birth, landing quietly in the same timeline, and suddenly the dots people hadn't connected before began to line up. Was this why Solange snapped? Did she uncover something the rest of the world wasn't meant to know? The whispers didn't just fade like typical internet gossip. They grew. They morphed. Soon, fans began re-examining Kelly's past, especially her music. Her 2013 track Dirty Laundry resurfaced, and suddenly those lyrics cut differently. Lines about jealousy, betrayal, toxic relationships, and living in someone else's shadow, once thought to be about a bad romance or the struggles of being Beyoncé's bandmate, now felt like hidden confessions. And then came the alleged video. A clip that supposedly showed Jay-Z and Kelly in a moment far too intimate to be innocent. Was it authentic? No one could prove it. But in the court of public opinion, proof didn't matter. Frame-by-frame breakdowns, wild theories, even astrological charts, people analyzed it all. What really kept the rumor alive, though, was the silence. Not a word from Beyoncé. Nothing from Jay-Z. Kelly stayed quiet, too. No denial. No explanation. Nothing. And in the world of celebrity, silence isn't just the absence of words, it becomes its own statement. Fans began asking, if it isn't true, why not just shut it down? That vacuum of answers sparked even deeper digging. Old Destiny's Child interviews, red carpet moments, lingering glances, all of it was pulled apart like evidence in a trial. Was this the friendship the world had believed in all these years? Or had it been something else entirely? So was this really the friendship fans believed it was? Or had something already fractured behind the scenes? Jay-Z's name being linked to paternity scandals wasn't exactly unheard of. For more than a decade, a man named Rhymer Satterthwaite had been fighting to get the rapper to acknowledge him as his biological son. According to Rhymer's mother, she and Jay-Z had a relationship back in the early 90s, long before the superstardom, when she was still a teenager and he was in his early 20s. She swore her son was the result. Rhymer wasn't after money or fame. He said all he wanted was a paternity test. But Jay-Z's response? Silence. Always silence. That silence made people uneasy. Not just because of the endless legal filings and court motions that mysteriously went nowhere, but because it established a pattern. Jay-Z didn't engage, didn't deny, didn't confirm. And when a man with that much power sidesteps a simple DNA test for more than 10 years, eyebrows rise. Was he guarding his reputation? Or was there something much bigger he didn't want uncovered? The parallels between the Titan rumors and Rhymer's claims became an obsession online. Two different cases, but the similarities were hard to ignore. In both, the women were young, tied to Jay-Z's world. In both, betrayal hovered in the background. And in both, Jay-Z never said a word. Fans weren't just curious anymore, they were suspicious. And then, always, there was Solange. That elevator fight wasn't just a private family dispute, it became a cultural earthquake. The footage showed her swinging, shouting, unleashing fury while Beyoncé stood motionless, like someone holding back a truth too dangerous to spill. No one outside that elevator ever learned what sparked it. But after Titan's birth lined up with the timeline, the question felt heavier. What did Solange know that the rest of the world didn't? As speculation swelled, the internet revisited that elevator footage with new eyes. Was Solange's fury just about infidelity, or had she stumbled on something so explosive it stripped away all restraint? Some argued she was defending Beyoncé in a way only family can when betrayal cuts too close. The attack wasn't about spilled champagne or a snide remark, it looked like a desperate attempt to drag hidden truths into the light. Beyoncé, as always, stayed silent. But when Lemonade dropped in 2016, it felt like silence breaking in slow motion. She never named names, but the lyrics bled betrayal, heartbreak, and, of course, the infamous, Becky with the good hair. The world pointed fingers at Rachel Roy, Rita Ora, and others. But deep in Reddit threads and unfiltered podcasts, some dared to ask the unthinkable. What if Becky wasn't some random industry fling? What if she was closer, much closer? The suggestion that Becky could have been Kelly Rowland shocked some fans and enraged others. But the theory refused to die. Suddenly, old interviews and stage performances were being dissected frame by frame. Fans highlighted stiff body language, side-eye glances, and subtle distance between Beyoncé and Kelly, details once dismissed as nothing now looked like red flags. It didn't help that after 2014, Kelly almost never mentioned Beyoncé or Jay-Z in interviews. To many, it felt like a wall had gone up, solid, intentional, and carefully guarded. Destiny's Child, long celebrated as the model of sisterhood, was now being re-examined like evidence in a case file. Beyoncé had always been the star, the front woman, while Kelly often stood in the shadows, fewer solos, toned-down outfits, less spotlight. At the time, it seemed like standard pop group politics. But in hindsight, it felt like a slow burn, a prelude to something deeper. If resentment, jealousy, or betrayal had been simmering beneath the surface, this was the moment fans believed it all spilled over. The music itself became more than art, it became evidence. Lyrics read like coded confessions. Performances looked like messages hidden in plain sight. Fans weren't just listening anymore. They were decoding. Because the hardest pill to swallow was this: Beyoncé and Kelly weren't just pop stars. They were family. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Beyoncé and Kelly weren't just former bandmates, they were part of a cultural legacy. Together, they embodied strength, unity, and black excellence on a global stage. So the idea that their bond might have been fractured by betrayal wasn't just gossip, it was jarring. But if there's one thing the internet loves, it's a messy story. And the messier it looked, the deeper people dug. What kept this theory alive wasn't only the supposed resemblance between Titan and Jay-Z, or the silence from those at the center. It was the patterns. Jay-Z's history of dodging. Kelly's raw confessions tucked into her lyrics. Beyoncé's cryptic storytelling on Lemonade. Fans weren't just speculating for fun, they believed they were assembling a puzzle that had been hiding in plain sight for years. Old clips became evidence. One award show backstage moment in particular fueled endless debate. Beyoncé walked ahead confidently while Kelly lingered behind, only catching up after someone called her name. Blink and you'd miss it, but to fans, it looked symbolic. In a sisterhood built on unity, had one always been left trailing behind? Interviews, too, were reanalyzed. Kelly often spoke about personal struggles, feeling overshadowed, battling insecurities, and learning to find her own voice beyond Destiny's Child. At the time, her words seemed like reflections on fame. In hindsight, layered with the weight of these rumors, they carried a much darker undertone. But the most chilling part wasn't the theories themselves. It was the silence. No denials. No legal pushback. No PR cleanup. Just nothing. And that silence, more than anything else, made the story feel less like a rumor, and more like a secret. No denial, just continued silence. And when most celebrities are quick to shut down lies but choose to stay quiet here, it doesn't read like professionalism. It feels like damage control. Jay-Z's image was already complicated by his own cheating admissions, and Rimer's paternity case wasn't helping either. So every time he appeared in public with Beyoncé, fans studied their body language. Were they really unshaken? Still the perfect power couple? Or were those smiles and Grammy-stage embraces just a polished mask for something more fragile underneath? Meanwhile, Kelly moved forward, acting, releasing music, embracing motherhood. But when it came to Destiny's Child, her words grew vague. The nostalgia wasn't as detailed, the memories less shared. Public appearances with Beyoncé all but vanished. Social media interactions dwindled. Some chalked it up to life moving on. Others weren't so sure, not when the shift lined up too neatly with the Titan controversy. And it wasn't just fans whispering. Podcasts, YouTube exposés, and tabloids all fanned the flames. To some, it was messy gossip. To others, it was the industry's biggest open secret. What people found weren't hard facts but patterns, coincidences, shadows, and in pop culture, shadows often speak louder than truth. What made it all haunting was who it involved. These weren't faceless celebrities. These were women the world had grown up with, icons who stood hand in hand singing about independence, resilience, and sisterhood. To imagine that behind those anthems lived silence, fractures, and betrayal was almost unthinkable. But whether the rumors were true or not stopped mattering. The story had taken on a life of its own. Jay-Z's silence. Beyoncé's poise. Kelly's distance. Together, they formed a triangle of unanswered questions. And until one of them finally speaks, speculation won't die. Because when legends stay silent, the world doesn't move on, it fills in the blanks.